Welcome on in, guys. Tobin here with you. Thanks for checking us on out here on the channel. Means a lot for me for you guys to come on over here. Know everybody in Heatland's a little bit on edge. You know, everybody's a little bit iffy, a little bit wonky, a little bit upset right now. And we'll see what happens, man. The in-season tournament gets going tonight against the Washington Wizards, who are throwing off the backboard alley-oops down 20. You know, every once in a while, I have to bust this out from my favorite teams, but I would say to the Miami Heat, don't lose. Don't you go lose to a team that is playing Harlem Globetrotters down 20 and just trying to make themselves not bored. Man, the Heat need a game to get right, and man, it would be nice if they can not only get right tonight. I'll take a win anyway, but if they, Spo used the word sustain to get out and take this thing and have this game in hand pretty much the entire way would be really ideal. And then you'd be at the spot basically where you were last year, 2-5. It was interesting, there was a lot of panic over the first 5 games. And panic's the wrong word, but there's a lot of angst over the first handful of games. And people did point out that they were 2-5 to start last year. And really the Miami Heat, did not get themselves handled as an over 500 team till basically halfway through the season. They were toiling of 1 over, 1 under, 2 under, 500, 1 over. They really did not get a grip of that till like halfway through the year. And so I think that is a thing that you have to keep in mind for sure. I think the thing that makes this different though is the summer hangover of everything that you thought was going to happen and it coming back the same is what is, I guess, adding to this. And it does feel like, I don't know. I just think with the team that they are feeling a little bit exhausted, especially the top three, going through this again. I think it's a tough mental exercise to get themselves up and prepared for more of a season. But as Jimmy said, it's a now situation. And Bam, I'm sorry I screwed this up on the last video. I don't know why it didn't import correctly, and I'm sorry I was a dummy who didn't check this properly. But Bam, he had this point to say about the deadline, and it was a little bit weird to hear a player bring up the deadline. Game 5.
I mean, we don't want to dig this hole too deep. So that's the concern, because you start season starts going like this, then obviously you get to the deadline and you don't know what's going to happen. So that's a concern, because we got a great group of guys. We just got to figure it out.
It's a pretty wild thing for your captain to come out there to bring up, hey, we don't want to get to a point where we're selling off everybody and having to make the decision to blow this thing up, basically. And that's after game 5, so maybe it's good that Bam is grabbing the gravity of this, maybe that he's feeling the gravity of that situation this quickly. Because I do think the place you could be was, how can this team muster up the urgency that they need when what they did last year? I feel like it's human-wise a tough thing to do. But I do feel like Jimmy, I do feel like Tyler, and I do feel like Bam aren't taking this lightly. And Spo, here's the thing that's interesting with Spo. And I was listening to his practice session yesterday. And we know Spo, right? Spo is always, it's a defense-first team. The intention of defense turns into offense. That's usually the identity of the team. Let's get to our identity. Let's make them feel us. Let's make them uncomfortable. He even made that point going into the Brooklyn. Let's make them feel us. Let's make them uncomfortable. Let's change our disposition. Interestingly, we have had an Erik Spoelstra who knows his offense has stunk in big pockets of these games. And to hear Erik Spoelstra speak this openly about offensive struggles was interesting, because I can't remember a time where he's been this open about being more efficient offensively and getting the offensive issues situated, just putting it out there like that. Usually it's, always coded in the offense will come, just, get the defense. Everything is process oriented, all that stuff. And he's kind of just putting it out there. Like, they got to score better. They have to score better and get things right in this situation.
Usage rates are kind of creeping up towards 30 a little bit.
Yeah.
Do you see that as a realistic thing for a full season? Like, where do you see them ending up usage-wise?
I'm not sure.
Last year.
Yeah, I don't know. I haven't really been paying attention to that. We definitely got to work today on trying to improve our offensive efficiency. We want to put more points on the board. We're capable of doing that. Getting on the same page and bringing out the strengths out of each other. We're going to get there. And we'll be better than what we have been right now. Hopefully we can fast track it. None of us are really patient through this process right now. But the thing I do know is that we need Jimmy, Bam, and Tyler all playing at a high level, at an efficient level, bringing the best out of each other, and then ultimately raising the level of everybody else on the roster, which they're all capable of doing. We just need to get to that point.
Tyler was just saying that.
So it was an interesting thing to hear with Cooper's question to Erik about Bam and Tyler's usage rate being at one of the highest that it's been, and Spo put it out there with the whole that they got to get, but they're bottom 5 right now. Yes, it is 5 games, but that's where they were last year in the regular season, and it does feel like they have to put more pressure on teams. They have to dictate things a little bit more on teams. And we certainly saw Tyler Hero in that Bucks game, be able to get defenses in more uncomfortable positions. Even before it was a blowout, he was doing that in the game. Bam has done a good job getting to the free throw line. Jimmy will always get to the free throw line. But I think that to put it out there on those guys like that, like, hey, we need this, this has always been a Heat team that, yes, dictates on the system and guys are going to step up and we have enough and all that. But it is a little bit like, hey, you guys need to bring the production every single night. Tyler, Bam, Jimmy, you 3 all get paid very handsomely. You're the top 3 guys on this team. Kyle Lowry is what he is. Duncan's going to have his hot nights. He's going to have his nights that he's off. You're going to try and scare people when he comes off the bench shooting. Sometimes he's going to be a monster. Sometimes, it's not going to be there for him. But those 3 guys in particular, the responsibility does hold in their hands to get this thing right. It does. They can sit here, we can bellyache about the guys they don't have and not getting Damian Lillard and they're not vibing. Fine. I'm not saying I don't understand all of that from those guys. Tyler being in rumors, Bam and Jimmy doing this recruiting and not getting the guys they thought they were. I understand that. But it's over with now. The damage is done. And so you need to be in a spot where you get this thing right. You do feel like you can actually contend and get things right. And, that has to start tonight with this wackadoo in-season term. Spo was asked about that also in the presser. He was like, what do I guess margin of victory matters, points matter. He goes, I'm just trying to get a win. Spo's got no time for this in-season tournament. Nobody does. I don't understand this. It's their fault, though. I mean, they did ruin the significance of the regular season. So I can't really I don't blame them for not caring, but it is their fault because of last year and losing Hornets games and Spurs games and Pistons games. Like, that's the reason why this in-season tournament even exists, because they got to the NBA Finals having this roller coaster ride to the NBA Finals. So it is interesting, though, to hear the coach put, those issues on the offense. And it's been clear. I think anybody who's had eyeballs knows, but I can't remember an Erik Spoelstra kind of just putting it that bluntly of being the problems. Usually it's always an effort thing or all that stuff and all the culture things that they try and identify with, but just this flat out, we need to score more efficiently. We need to put more points on the board. And that just is the league at this point. When you're scoring 104 points in this day and age is ancient. You have every team right now in the top 5 is averaging 120 a game. You know, Boston's nearly averaging 130 a game, even though I get it. It's only a handful of games. But the Heat do need to start getting this back on track and start lighting up that scoreboard if it's possible.